Hey everybody, welcome back to Culz Book Reviews. For the first book I read in the year 2025, we are checking out The Lost Dinosaurs of Egypt, which the title should sound familiar, and as you can see right there on the cover, it's because it's a companion to that A&E documentary that we reviewed already. So hopefully you guys have seen the documentary, seen our review, and now can be introduced to the book that tells the same story but also gives a lot more insight into what was happening. So before we get into my thoughts, let's take a look at the book. Alright, so up top we see The Lost Dinosaurs of Egypt, and we get some background picture, obviously, from the Bahariya Formation with some of the paleontologists working right there. We see a skeletal of Spinosaurus very much of the time. With Spinosaurus, we've talked about it before, including the documentary Bigger Than T-Rex, but there's so many new discoveries and we're learning so much more about Spinosaurus. It seems like Spinosaurus's design changes almost every year, but that's because we're just learning so much more about what Spinosaurus was. Right there, my copy does say a companion edition to the A&E documentary. This came out obviously about that same time. And then we see the authors William Nothdurft and Josh Smith. Josh Smith is one of the paleontologists. On the side again we see the authors' names as well as the Lost Dinosaurs of Egypt. And again, the Spinosaurus skeletal, you can see, actually carries all the way to the back. And you just see a little bit about the book itself, as well as there's our friendly ISBN. Alright, so the book itself clocks in at 205 pages, though there are some additional pages with notes and references, stuff like that you would find in any scientific book. And as you can see, it is filled with lots of text because obviously it's a book, but this one does have two sections of pictures. The second set really kind of follows the expedition that was the modern expedition at the time that you follow in the documentary. And then the first one follows Ernst Stromer, and you can see his sons there. And just more about the man who found these dinosaurs, named him, described him, and unfortunately lost him, even though he was trying to preserve him. But yeah, then the rest of the book obviously is just going to be text, so let's get into my thoughts. So overall, for a first book of the year, it's a pretty easy read, and it was a fun tie-in to that documentary. It does cover my favorite time period for the dinosaurs because my favorite dinosaur is Spinosaurus. So it's always fun to learn more about that time period. It does cover a expedition that I knew from the documentary prior. Again, this is my first time actually reading the book itself, so this was really neat. Yes, it does cover the expedition that we see in the documentary, but because it's a book, we do get a little bit more background, a little bit more information, and it's always not the same information. You find out more about some of the different fossils they found. You find out more about the different sites. Obviously, the documentary, even though it was close to 2 hours, can only cover so much. So it was really neat to learn more about the expedition itself, about the different specimens they found. Of course, this expedition ends up with the discovery of bones, mainly the humerus, as well as some other supporting material, from Paralititan, which they named, and they named in honor of Ernst Stromer, because it is Paralititan stromeri. So yeah, it was really neat, and their reasoning as far as how big it was, Paralititan weight-wise, maybe not as massive, but really hasn't gotten nerfed like we see all the time with, oh, it's the largest dinosaur, or recently with that whale where it was the largest organism of all time and then got super nerfed down. It stayed pretty big, and it's neat to learn about that discovery. Now, for the majority of the book, even when they're talking about it, it's not named. It gets named towards the end in a section called Memorials, and we learn about the naming and the reasoning behind Paralititan. You do kind of see that in the documentary, but they're going to expand upon it here. You do learn about some of the other dinosaurs, be it Spinosaurus, Carcharodontosaurus, or Bahariosaurus, mainly the big three predators. And again, they're talking about the conundrum that was around, saying, how did all these really large theropods survive in an environment with no plant eaters? There's also the studies into the habitat of the Baharia Formation as far as what it looked like. You see that again in the documentary. It's just expanded here. What I really enjoyed too is it talks about Ernst Stromer. It feels like Stromer gets a lot more time in this book than the documentary. And it's really neat for a person who was pretty vital to early paleontology, who's been kind of lost to time because his specimens were unfortunately lost during World War II, to see more of his story played out. Now, I still would love a whole book about Ernst Stromer and his life, so maybe at some point I'll try to go write one, I don't know. But it'd be cool if somebody did. Much like the documentary, it's kind of back and forth. This one's more evenly spaced between talking about Stromer and then the modern expedition, and usually they try to tie in what's going in with the modern expedition to whatever they're talking about with Stromer. So overall, really fun read. I'm really glad I read it because having just rewatched the documentary, obviously for the review, I was able to just see scenes playing out in my head and learn more about it. So it is a great companion. Maybe there are people I've seen on reviews on Goodreads where they're just like, oh, I didn't talk about the dinosaurs enough. It was mainly about the expedition. I don't know if they've seen the documentary. But yeah, it's mainly going to be about the expedition. It's not like a field guide to dinosaurs or something like that. Though it does go into detail about, like I said, some of the dinosaurs, which was really cool. It's written really well, and at parts it does maybe kind of feel a little Indiana Jones-esque. And I like, what's the show? Expedition Unknown. Kind of feels in kind of like the spirit of that when they're going to some of these ancient sites, like when he went to like Egypt or some of these other pyramid sites. Kind of just what I felt. Overall, really solid book. I'd say 8 out of 10. Good solid start to the beginning of the year. And again, get it as a companion or just get it by itself. I think you would enjoy it. Just know it's not a field guide to the dinosaurs. It is about the expedition and it's about Ernst Stromer. So overall, really, really good. I do recommend. But until next time, guys, for more Culz Book Reviews, click that link to your left. The last book review that's popping up is going to be Oswald's Tale, so check that out. For more about us here at Culz Paranormal, click that link to your right. And don't forget to hit that like and give us a subscribe. And let us know, have you read The Lost Dinosaurs of Egypt? And is there a paleontological book we need to check out this year? Tell us in the comments below.